Hello everyone and welcome back to the Property Podcast Today show. I'm your host Lee Dahill, and today we've got Ben from Agency Express and Victoria from GlueDog. Now, any of our guests that have watched the show before, you know I always get the people on the show to introduce themselves. So before we move into the questions, let's hear from Victoria. Victoria at GlueDog, tell us a little bit about you and what you've been up to.
Okay, so I have been in the property industry well in excess of 20 years now, and started off as an estate agent. I had my own business for 6 years, and I've now come over to the bright side of PropTech and loving it.
Wicked. And Ben, over to you, sir.
Yeah, well, nice to be back, third time. Hello, everyone. My name's Ben Brookes. I'm the Managing Director of Agency Express, the UK's largest for sale board service provider. So we erect, service, maintain and manage for sale boards, to let boards and commercial signage for around 7,500 of your lovely estate agents all over the UK.
Lovely. Thank you both for your intros. And I've got a set of questions. We're talking about collaboration, staying ahead, and what that means for the industry. So my first one is on PropTech. It can be seen as crowded with solutions. What problems do you see agents struggling with that other suppliers weren't solving, and how did that lead to the SignMaster 3 and GlueDog integration?
It didn't sound like you read that at all, Lee. That was straight off the cuff.
That was straight off the cuff.
Yeah.
That one was a little
straight
bit
out the top of your head. That one.
It was, and I'm pleased you saw that, Ben.
Okay. I've got to bow to Victoria on this one because she's the PropTech expert. I just put up boards. That's why I'm here.
I think that the main thing here is that there has been a severe lack of integrations. When Mark came up with the idea of GlueDog through quite a lot of research, it kind of found out that less than 10% of the whole of PropTech was integrated, and often that integration was only one way. So you might be able to order a for sale board or order an AML check, but you'd still have to get an email back or log into another portal to find everything out. And I think now that we've got, for example, SignMaster and GlueDog working together, you've now got that two-way collaboration between the CRM and the supplier. So everything's happening inside the CRM, but you've got that third party just gluing it together, which is us at GlueDog.
Yeah, I see it like a networking event, Lee. That's how in my head, because I'm not a tech person, so I try and simplify things because it makes it easier for me to understand. And GlueDog is the person that introduces you to everyone else at the event. So when you go somewhere and you don't know anyone, GlueDog's the bit that introduces you to each other. So from our side, we've obviously worked with estate agents for a long time, 25 plus years. And one of the most common things that they get frustrated about is duplication. And so there are so many platforms, so many things that you need to enter information into, so that when they would get to SignMaster, to our internal system, to then request the board to go up or the slip to be changed or the board to be retrieved, is that frustration of keying the same information all over again and then having to access another platform to find information. So taking that step out of the process, you might think, well, that only saves 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds for that one instruction. Sure, it does, but times that by however many properties you manage each year, by the number of branches, by the number of agents, it's enormous amount of time gets wasted in basic admin.
On that part with the, like the integrations, automation, the sort of data flow between the CRM, SignMaster 3, what do you think in terms of real time does that reduce admin and cut out the human error? How much do you see that for the agents on the ground?
Well, from our side, the big part of it is it's not so much. I mean, reducing error is a big thing because at the end of the day, especially when you're in a pressure period of the year and you're remembering to put stuff through, you're going to make human error. It's natural. And for us, putting up a board at the wrong house, it's a big problem. It's going to irritate the homeowner. It's going to potentially damage your relationship going forward. But it's actually remembering to do things. We know from our data, comparing it to number of properties transacted by an estate agent, we only receive about 80% of the requests if they're doing it manually. If it's coming through GlueDog, it's 100% because they can't forget to do stuff because it happens without them interacting with it. So that's the big thing for me. What do you think, Victoria? Would you agree?
Absolutely that. We've been signing up loads of your customers in the last few weeks since we launched, and just every single one has just gone, it automates it. Oh, thank goodness, we're not going to forget to get boards collected, get boards changed. And it's just so simple, yet it's still got the functionality to stop things if they need to. So, you know, for example, like a seller saying, yes, put a sale agreed board up, and then going, actually, no, I don't want it up yet. Wait until the searches are back or the survey results are back, so that they can see a bit of commitment from the buyer. They can stop that automation and then pick it up again once their client is happy. So it's got the automation there, but if they need to stop it, they can do. So the integration is fantastic. And as an ex-agent, literally, it's probably one of the best things since sliced bread, because it just saves so much hassle. And it's just there. It's part of the CRM. It's like click done.
Yeah. Do you think that's what makes it actually stick instead of it being another layer of tech?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's use case, isn't it? What agents want, or in my personal humble experience, is the end result as quickly as possible for the least amount of money. That's it. You boil it down. We can add all the bells and whistles and all the flashy stuff we want, but if you can get the end result as quickly as possible, that's the core element of any service. For then the least amount of money, obviously, is the cherry on the cake. And what GlueDog does is enables us to provide that. And if we don't have that integration with someone, they're gonna miss instructions, miss elements of the transaction process for the board. And although that may seem like a fairly minor step in that process, it's a huge amount of marketing that gets missed. So it becomes sticky because it's easy. And if you simplify something, that's ultimately where the magic lies.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. And team, I think that sorry, putting it all together is a huge success in terms of making it sticky and making it a part of that. And I'm really pleased to have seen that come into fruition.
I think the thing about PropTech is that there's so much of it out there. There's a risk that you end up creating technical solutions that weren't needed in the first place. But where we find ourselves with this is it's just not the case, because this is something agents have been asking for a long time. We already had a fairly simple API facility for agents to use that it's fairly dumb. It didn't do a huge amount, but it was enough to get things started. And even then, we had a lot of agents who wanted to use it. You then bolt on the fact that what GlueDog does is takes that basic simple idea and gives you all that functionality back. So you've got the best parts of doing it manually and the best parts of automating it and integrating it. It puts two pieces together.
Yeah, but you've also got the actual cost savings around it as well.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not just, you've got the practical element, but you've actually got the financial element as well. Because I know when we've had conversations then before, so many boards go missing because they haven't been collected on completion day. And I think you said, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's around 50% for every 24 hours.
The boards get lost. Yeah, that's true. And we've seen that. So for every day that a board is outside a property, that it's not collected post-completion, it's about a 50% loss rate. So on day of completion, you got about a 95, 98% chance of getting the board back. Day after, 50%, day after that, 25, day after that, 12.5, so on and so forth. So strictly speaking, an agent has 14 days after completion to retrieve the board. But if they leave it 14 days, the percentage chance of us recovering it is almost nil. So having that automation means the board's going to get recovered because it's automatically you get told to be recovered, and it removes the risk of losing that board. The cost of that board, the value of the item, and you correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, is actually probably more than the cost of actually the integration with GlueDog. So one board saved covers the cost of the integration.
Exactly that. I reckon, just going off my old days of being an agent, I'd probably save about £100 a month.
Yeah.
Just by getting boards collected, on an automation rather than having
humble
to
brag with the amount of
and
properties you sold, but that's fine. I'll move on.
And is this what you're seeing from sort of early agents using the partnership together with GlueDog?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're seeing that interaction. To be honest, one of the things I've noticed from the early conversation points, and and it's run very smoothly. The first few that came on, and now we're really getting a head of steam up, is kind of like a sigh of relief. So when you interact with the agent, like, oh, thank God, we don't have to do that anymore. You know, we don't have to manually remember to manipulate those elements. It's just one less thing. And when we're in such a complex and precious environment these days, and only there's going to be more challenges to come, as we all know, it's just one less thing you then don't have to think about in the transaction process. So why wouldn't you do it? And that's before you get into all of the other brilliant integrations that GlueDog are offering. You know, this is just one piece of that overall pie.
And you see it a lot more with, you know, open ecosystems now, with partnerships and collaboration. Do you feel this is sort of setting the tone for how suppliers and partnerships are heading?
No, it definitely is. You know, as I said before, you know, integrations were just, for a lot of suppliers and a lot of CRMs, were a bit of a non-starter. And even if you just take the development time of an integration, say on average 3 to 6 months per direct integration, if they were doing it sort of the old-fashioned way, you know, if you've got 3 to 6 months per CRM and there's over 40 CRMs, that's years and years and years just to get that first integration, let alone any updates. And agents, and I know this from my own experience, you know, you ask for, you know, this functionality, can you have this, can you have that, can you have this? And your things, services and tech is changing all the time. So we're finding that things are coming in, and, you know, even the early adopters that came in very early on, they're already upgrading their integration because they're only having to do it once.
Yeah.
And that's been a massive game changer. And, you know, we're making introductions left, right, and centre between suppliers so that they can collaborate. And through the collaboration, we're seeing more innovation, and agents are just like, what else have you got? What else can we have? It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, and agents themselves at the end of the day often don't know what the options are. And I think that's, and the same for suppliers as well. From our side, we know which CRMs our customers use. But if someone said to me, well, which one could you go and work with to generate more inquiry, more activity, to help the community, the estate agency community? I couldn't tell you that because I don't know. Victoria does, because that's the bit she does. She connects those elements together. And so if someone can say, well, let us take that bit away from you, it's just as beneficial for us, because it means for us we're going to get more instructions from the clients. They're happy because more work's going to be completed in the timely fashion. It simplifies the process, and it means, again, that whole stepping stone between agent taking instruction through to completion, it's just simplified. Why wouldn't you go in that direction?
And this is probably more for Victoria, which is, there's certain parts of agency that, you know, feel a bit outdated. What do you think is the most overdue for renovation, and why do you feel it hasn't evolved yet?
Well, I kind of think Ben touched on it there. You know, a lot of agents don't actually know what tech is out there. You know, yes, you've got big events and big conferences that take place, but that is only a small proportion of the number of agents that are out there.
Yep.
And, you know, we're down in Devon, and I know a lot of the Cornwall, Devon, Southwest agents don't get to London to go to the big events. So I had no idea there were so many CRMs and so many PropTech suppliers, like no idea. You'd heard of some of the big names, yes, absolutely. But I think actually it's educating the agents in what PropTech is available. And, you know, when I'm onboarding an agent, we'll talk about other PropTech that they might use, and I'll introduce ones that are connected to their CRM and ones that are coming soon. And you've got Kerfuffle, who do like the free tech MOTs and things like that, which are fabulous. So I think you've got the education, but then you've got the training point of view. Like, I spoke to a CRM the other day, and they said something along the lines of an average user will only use 45% of their CRM. So actually, I think it's not necessarily the tech side of things.
Yep.
I think it's actually companies investing in their training and supporting of their teams to make sure that they're using the tech that they're using 100% or as close to that as possible to make all their systems and processes as smooth as possible.
And here's a question for behind the scenes. What when you're doing everything that you guys do, what is it you think that people don't see when it comes to prop tech innovation than that what people make it harder than they assume? So what's
Testing.
behind the scenes?
Testing. Yeah. So the great example here, when we did the integration work with when Mark was doing all the coding behind the scenes, making everything work, and we'd organised our sort of timelines as to when we were going to release this out to the estate agency community. Mark had sort of planned X amount of lines of code that was going to go into this. And correct me if I'm wrong, Victoria, it was 20,000 lines more code than he thought it was going to be. And bear in mind, what we do is relatively straightforward in terms of the information we need to extract from a CRM system. So the trick with, and I think this is often where, and if I can add something into what Victoria said before about education, it's not necessarily knowing what tech companies are out there that you can use, it's which ones are good. And that's the hard bit, because naturally you're going to want to safeguard your good suppliers for you. So you're not actively going to go out and shout from the rooftops to your competitors who they are. But if there was more collaboration on that front, if agents came out to each other and said, actually, these guys are really good and these guys are really good, don't use those guys because we struggle with them, that would help. And everyone, or what's the saying, a tide lifts all ships. If everyone works together, we actually get more out of it as a community. And I think that's what GlueDog are trying to achieve, bringing all those elements together. It helps everyone to see it. But definitely for me, it's the testing, the level of coding, the level of testing that goes on, and the head scratching. There's a reason Mark's bald. That's all I'm saying. All that hair that he's pulled out. Don't tell him I said that.
That's just working with me.
Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah. Those are pulling his hair out with all the testing as he goes.
Pretty much. Get it done.
And the amount of differences between clients as well. That's the other thing. It's amazing how the subtleties from one agent to another can make a difference in how they'll use that integration. And we were doing a piece of work with one of our bigger customers recently about the workflow, sort of the usage case working through a CRM system. How do they use certain screens? They're all completely different, but everyone's using it differently. And you think, well, how's that possible? Everyone's using similar platforms, right? But not at all. Everyone does it slightly differently. And that creates challenges in itself.
And some agencies, it's more for Victoria, this one. Some agencies now run multiple integrations through you and GlueDog. What do you think that adoption trend tells you about the future?
I think it's all about streamlining and being more efficient. I think the ones that we've got some that are on like their 5th, 6th, and looking at other integrations. Their team are loving it because, as an agent, your buzz is from getting that new instruction and selling it or letting it, whatever it might be. Admin is not an agent's favorite thing to do. It's a must-have because they need to be compliant and they need to show due diligence and make sure that their marketing is A1. So they have to do the admin, but actually, if they can reduce it and streamline it and make it more efficient, they've got happier agents, they've got happier clients, and they're going to get better reviews. So the more efficient you are, the more profitable you are, and you can grow your business using things like PropTech, but without having to add to that head count within the office. Yes, there will be times where you might have to add head count, and that's great for new agents coming into the industry. But actually, there's a lot you can do with not very much money.
I think that's a massive impact. I think it will have a massive impact on the industry. And I want to ask you the last question I've got, which is my favorite, which is on the future. So I want to talk about the fundamental shifts. You can answer individually or together, however you want to do it. Fundamental shifts that you feel agencies must embrace to stay competitive over the next 5 years. Now, I'm happy if you want to go individually or whoever wants to take the stage first.
I think the people need to get comfortable with AI and how that works with agency. They need to accept that it's an inevitability. We are a human-to-human business, all of us, right? If you work in the property industry, it's human to human. So what we need to do is find ways to use AI that's coming down the road to augment the position of the individual. It's not about replacing people. It's about using it and using tech in general to remove the unnecessary administrative elements of what we do. If you could spend 100% of your time talking to vendors and purchasers, then you are maximizing the value of your human nature, right? So that's what we need to be focused on, using AI to fill in those gaps and make those things easier for us. And tech in general, it will enable that. But that's the big one, and it's a psychology piece to get people to get their head around that and get past this idea that it's just there to tell you how to boil an egg or, write a haiku about a sausage. It's more than that, and it's accelerating. I saw a guy do a piece about AI recently, which was really interesting, and he said, just imagine what AI can achieve at the moment, and that's the worst it's ever going to be. Where we are right now, that's the worst it's ever going to be, and it's accelerating exponentially. So if you don't get on that train now, you're going to get left behind, and it won't be the competitors that are in the industry with you now. It's the people coming up behind us. They're the ones, because they get it, and that's who's going to usurp you, not your compatriots. That's very negative, but there you go. That's my view.
I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, but also, agents are agile. They're used to working in different markets, different trends. They're promoting themselves to, accordingly to win instructions. And obviously you've mentioned AI there, but for me, AI, PropTech, these are all, up until now, they've kind of been a bit luxurious, but a bit like integrations, again, it was only for those that maybe it was the big boy chains that could have the finances to get these integrations built. Now it's kind of anybody. So whereas you might have, I don't know, let's go to cars, you had central locking in cars. That was a big thing. Now it's just every day. Integrations are going to be every day. Everyone can use them. Everyone can use AI. You can then focus on the service, which is the human part that Ben talked about, because that is what agency is all about. It's, yes, you're selling a property, but it's sales through service. So if your service is 100%, those sales will automatically come as part of that process.
It levels the playing field, doesn't it? Because then the big and the small, doesn't matter how much money's in the pocket. It's actually about how well you're using the opportunities that present themselves, because it becomes a great unifier. So it's exciting, I think.
And it goes with the old saying of people buy from people.
They do indeed. They buy from people before they buy anything else. And I think, team, thank you so much for your time explaining everything, going through everything on the show. Massively appreciate you both taking the time out and coming on, and thank you all for listening.